but we have Lucy Grant, Team GB sprint cyclist, here speaking to us. Just, welcome to the team, Lucy. We're really pleased to have you on board.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. I'm really pleased to be part of your team and be working with you guys.
We're hoping today to speak to you a wee bit about your journey to where you are now, and particularly in light of it being Women and Girls in Sport Week 2020. So tell me, have you always cycled?
Yeah, I started cycling from a really young age. I think I was really lucky when I grew up. My family were really active, and we did a lot of outdoor activities and stuff. And especially where I grew up, there was a lot of it was really easy to access a lot of sports. And I started out doing cycling, obviously, but I also played netball.
Having been to People's a number of times, I think it's mountain bike haven there. It's just perfect for getting into that sport. Is that where you started in mountain biking, or?
Yeah, I started in mountain biking, and my dad was really into cycling. So when we were living in People's, that just made sense to go mountain biking, especially up Glentress and stuff. It was a fantastic facility to have so close to home.
So you said your dad was into cycling. Was it mountain biking that he was into as well?
Yeah. He'd cycled a lot throughout his life. Like, he did a lot of road, but then he also did a lot of mountain biking, especially when him and my mum moved down to Peebles just before they had me. So, yeah.
Well, I think a lot of the girls I know in cycling have gotten into cycling because their family cycles, and it is often sort of dads and brothers or whatnot that are into cycling, and sort of girls get into it through that way. Do you think you would have gotten into cycling anyway?
I would like to think I would have, based probably on where I was growing up, and I think that People's cycling is quite the dominating sport. So I like to think that even if my parents didn't do it, that I would have, but I can't be sure for that, obviously.
No, of course, yeah. So did you have friends at school that cycled, or was this something that was quite special and unique to you? Or
I had a couple of friends that cycled, but mainly my friends who cycled I met through the sport, and they weren't necessarily people that I was going to school with. So it was kind of something I did away from school.
Yeah. So what was the first discipline that you started racing in? Was that mountain biking?
Yeah, mountain biking. It was cross country. There was some race at Glentress, and my mum and dad entered me into it just for a bit of fun, and I absolutely loved it. And ever since then, I was hooked. So.
And how old were you when you started racing then?
I think I did my first race when I was 7, but I just absolutely loved it. It was just the fun aspect of it. There was never the aspect of oh, this is what I want to do. I really want to compete. It was this is so much fun. Let's do more.
We just enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Oh no, that's definitely the way into it. And then I think you transitioned into or did quite a lot of cyclocross as well.
Yeah, I started with cyclocross. I must have been a bit older, maybe 11 or 12 or something. We did a bit, and I absolutely loved that as well. I just loved how diverse it was, with the running and the hurdles and the mud. The mud was always my favourite part for me.
I have to say that's where I'm entirely different, because I love road cycling, but I hate mud and dirt. So every time I'm going mountain biking, I'll only ever do it if the ground's frozen, because I just hate the muck. So I need to just embrace the filth, I think, sometimes. So.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. I think you go into cyclocross and you're going to get muddy. There's no other.
Well, that's it. I think if you sort of accept that it's going to occur, then it's not quite so bad. But yeah, it's even road biking during the winter, and you come back and you take off your glasses and you've just got that stripe, and you're just like, oh no, too dirty. So, what brought about your change to track cycling? How old were you when you started that?
So I competed in cross country up until 2016.
And you competed at a really high level, I see.
Yeah, I competed at under 23 World Cup level, so that was amazing. The experiences of that and just racing in all different countries was just amazing.
And how did you get into track?
Then in 2016, I crashed my bike at the start of the year, and I didn't really think much of it at the time, but I had hurt my back, and with the constant bumpiness of mountain biking, it just wasn't really getting any better. So my coach was like, you need to take some time, either to have some time off the bike to let your back get better, or you can try track. And my coach had always wanted me to try track, but I had been adamant that mountain biking was the sport for me. But through not wanting to do nothing, I was like, okay, I'll give track a try. And then
So had you been on a velodrome track or anything like that before? Or?
I'd done like a trial session or an introductory session, whatever you call it, maybe a couple of years before, but I hadn't particularly enjoyed it at the time. So
was that at the Glasgow Velodrome or?
yeah, I'd done one at Dundee at Caird Park.
Yeah.
I'd done one there, and then I did one at Glasgow. But yeah, that was all I done.
I've done a trial session at the Glasgow Velodrome. Just, you know, it's just a taster session, and it's quite scary. It's quite steep.
Yeah, I didn't realise quite how steep it was, and it's not.
Neither did I. It doesn't look that steep on the telly.
No, it really doesn't. Not till you get there. You're looking up and you're like, wow, that's pretty steep.
Yeah. So how was your first go in the velodrome?
Well, I was really fortunate because I was on the Scottish cycling programme for mountain biking. I was able to guest with the track programme. So I was able to go on with them, and I was on with like a lot of really competent riders, and they were all really good, knew what they were doing, which was really reassuring for me because it was like people who were there to help me to learn almost. Because I mean, I know that I came from a cycling background, but the ability to ride a bike felt like the only skill that was transferable because everything else was just so different.
Yeah. So I think you're training down in Manchester now. Is that where you're based full time now?
Yeah, I moved down here in April 2 years ago.
So how are you finding it down there?
I really enjoy it down here, and like the facilities are amazing, and we get to train with some of the best people. So yeah, thankfully the track here is a bit less steep, so it's a bit different from Glasgow, but it's still really good.
So tell us about your normal training week. Is a timetable set out for you as to what you do one day to the next, or?
Yeah, so we get like a training program. It's usually written like at least a month in advance of what we're doing. And at the moment that kind of consists of about 3 gym sessions a week. As a track sprinter, we don't spend a lot of time on the bike. Ironically,
okay.
Time in the gym, building muscle mass and getting stronger, because team sprint's the event we're focusing on, which is all about going out the gate from standing with your teammates in positions 2 and 3 and going as fast as you can for, I do 1 lap and then pull up, and then the second person comes through and they pull up, and then the third person comes through and finishes.
I suppose it's all about sort of explosive power, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. A lot of explosive power in the gym, and then we do a lot of starts practice. So we're practicing going out the gate, and you want your timing gate. That's like really important to be as short as possible, so that your overall time is as quick as possible. So that's a huge technical and reaction aspect. We spend a lot of time doing that as well. And then we'll have some sessions on the bike where we work in our optimum cadence range and things like that. And then we usually have about 1 road ride a week just to get outside and spin the legs.
So have you, I think it happens to all cyclists, but it must be worse when you're in a velodrome. Presumably you must have had the odd fall off the bat when you're starting.
Yeah. Quite a few falls out the gate. Like I've got the timing wrong, and I've got completely caught in the gate and just like over the bar. And a couple of times I've fallen off on the banking as well. I think when you fall off on the track, especially on the banking, you just got to completely relax and just pretend you're going down a big slide or something.
So do you think your mountain biking and cyclocross has probably helped you with that side of things?
Yeah, I think it has, especially in terms of like being able to track stand and bike handling. So yeah.
So I know certainly lots of women have, I feel it's almost since the 2012 Olympics, more women have taken up cycling, and certainly even more recently, you know, during lockdown, lots more women seem to be out on bikes and taking up cycling for the first time, or maybe returning to the sports. So do you have any advice about, you know, for women that might be new-ish to the sport but might want to start thinking about competing? Because it can be difficult to get into knowing where to even start.
Yeah. I think the best place to start is like getting contact with like a local club or organization or someone like that, because obviously to compete you need to be part of a team or a club that are like registered to allow you to compete. So finding one that's local to you or one that your friends go to or something is a really good place to start, and that can help be like a stepping stone to get you into competing. And then it's just entering races and just having fun. I think the more race experience you get, the better. And it's one of these things that you can't really learn other than just doing it. like there's only so much you can learn through training and stuff, but just getting out there and getting fully immersed and involved in it is probably one of the best ways to go about it. And I know that sounds quite overwhelming because you do kind of get thrown in at the deep end, but you do need to start somewhere, and to just take that first step and enter a race is just, it's really good. And afterwards you'll just feel so happy because it's such a good feeling. So
I've got my first race coming up in a couple of weeks.
awesome. What race are you doing?
So it's a crit race at the Lochgelly.
Oh yeah, I've raced there before.
So we'll see how it goes. There's an organisation that's running like a training event the week before, because I've not done crit races before. I've done plenty of group riding, perfectly happy in a group or whatnot, but it's a bit different racing. And I have no idea whether I'm going to be remotely competitive or miles off the back. It's, you know, when and I suppose that's one of the difficulties for women sort of getting into competitive cycling, is that you don't always know where you stand, or you don't, you know, there's lots of women that I've been trying to encourage to join cycling clubs, and that always say, oh no, I'm not good enough to do that. And it's, I don't know, I think, I mean, do you feel that cycling's still a male-dominated sport?
I think in some aspects it is, yeah, but I think there's so many women up and coming, and when you do these women's races, you will find that women are really welcoming, and they do really like to have the competition and people around them, and that even if you are worried about not being in the front bunch or whatever in the race, there'll always be people who are not, and other people that you can sort of catch up with and work with and stuff, and it's just about trying to find people who are about the same level as you to get on with. So
have all your events been cancelled for this year then, or?
Yeah, they have. Well, there's one happening in Poland and one in Grenchen, but it's just a bit risky with COVID and potential quarantine, and if we get stuck there and you can't train, and we're just kind of taking this time to just get strong and keep training rather than stress about racing and travel and stuff. So some of the endurance.
What's the next big event then? Will it be next year?
I guess it'll just be nationals, yes, in January. So national champs at the end of January. Hopefully that'll happen, and hopefully that'll be like a hit out for us to see where we're at. But we'll just have to wait and see.
Is that going to be in Manchester? Or?
Yeah, that would be in Manchester. Okay. I think that any form of like physical activity or any sport at all at any level is just really good for everyone's mental health and well-being. Particularly, I find if you can get outside and do some form of that exercise, it just makes it even more beneficial. And I just think that's so important, especially in times like these when we've been in lockdown and everyone's stuck inside and stuck with the same people. It can just be so draining, and I think just get out and do something. Even if you don't feel like it at the time, it can make you feel 100 times better in the long run.